just, well,
I usually just have the chairman.
okay.
And then I get-
Just initial on them?
Yeah. Yeah, they changed.
And this is one for today. And this to you. See that one. No, it's about 9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock, shall we stand and do our pledge of allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Fellas, have a chance to look the agenda over?
Second it.
Okay. Then moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Call for vote, Primer, aye. And how about the minutes? There's 2 sets. Did you get a chance to look them both over?
Yes, I did.
Any additions or corrections?
None. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is that both sets?
Both sets.
Okay. That's been moved and seconded. Call for vote, please. Primer, aye.
Freeman, aye.
Deershank, aye.
Hello, Myron.
Morning. Week ago, the DOT had their monthly letting. It was May. And that letting, Benton County had 3 asphalt projects. They were all listed separately. But resurfacing E24 from Vinton city limits east out to W26, from Shellsburg city limits north on W26, 6 miles, and then E24 from W26 east and north over the Lynn County line. What you have in front of you is the 2 bids that were received from each of the contractors for all 3 of the projects. Because they were let as 3 separate projects, I have it separated on the agenda separately. But I would recommend that we accept the bids that were received for those, from those 2 contractors for those projects. One of the projects came over our estimate by about $8,000, but collectively the 3 projects came in about $4 million less than what was totally estimated. But if you would be willing to make a motion to accept the bids as received from the DOT for each of the projects, I would recommend that we award it to the bid that was the lowest. Both of them are responsible bidders and have worked for the DOT and in Benton County in the past. And then I have 3 separate resolutions here allowing or authorizing the county engineer to sign the contracts for those 3 projects on the Dock Express website that the DOT uses for project contract processing.
Okay, so the motion would be for all 3 all together, correct?
I have it listed separately
You have
on
it
the
listed
agenda.
separately. Okay. So, need a motion,
I'll make a
Jim?
motion to accept the bids as presented.
Yep.
Second.
Okay. Been moved and seconded to accept the bids as presented. Call for vote, Primer, aye.
Freeman, aye.
Deershank, aye. And then I need a motion to award the contract to LL Pelling Company Incorporated for each of those 3 projects. They were the low bidder.
I'll make a motion to award the 3 contracts to Pelling LL Company Incorporated. all three contracts.
Okay. Been moved and seconded to award all three of these to LL Pelling. Seconded, so call for vote. Primer, aye.
Seaman, aye. Your aye.
Now you want to
Now I've got three separate resolutions. The first one would be for E24 from Vinton City Limits East to W26. Authorizing I, the county engineer, to sign on behalf of the Benton County for that contract. For information, $2,092,658.92 was the low bid on that project.
give motion to authorize his signature on the contract.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. Call for vote. Primer, aye.
Seaman, aye.
Your aye.
There's two for my hearing. The second project, it would be for W26 from Shellsburg corporate limits north 6 miles, allowing myself to sign on behalf of Benton County. That contract amount would be for $1,658,493.31.
Can I get a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded. Call for vote, please. Primer, aye.
Seaman, aye.
Your aye.
And the last one.
And the last one would be for E24 from W26 east and north, 3.5 miles to the Lynn County line, allowing I, the county engineer, to sign on behalf for Benton County for a contract amount of $1,722,415.88.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
all right, been moved and seconded. Call for vote, please. Primer, aye.
Seaman, aye.
Your aye.
Where's the last one now?
From basically County Home, or the Oak Grove Church, east on the rock, north, and east and north.
That'd be that new pavement.
Okay.
Yeah. What's the timeline on that?
I will find that out shortly. Technically, we need to sign the contract on both
Before.
ends before we discuss any of that detail.
Okay.
But the projects do have a late start date where time will be charged to them if they don't start by then. The two resurfacing projects being east of Vinton and north of Shellsburg for August 26th at the very latest. And then the new paving was September 16th.
That's for start dates?
Late start dates, but in order for them to do all three of them, they're gonna have to start one of them sooner than that.
Sure.
I know that. I know that they are doing the work on 218 in Vinton later this year too. I would imagine they might try to tie all that work together at the same time, but it's a discussion that I will have either late in the week or next week as to what their plan of attack might be.
Where's the new paving?
Where? Where is
New paving project?
these three?
Yeah.
From Vinton going east on the County Home Road,
Oak Grove.
also the Oak Grove Church, from Shellsburg north, 6 miles, which would be to the Oak Grove Church and just shy of the Cedar River Bridge. And the third one would be from the Oak Grove Church, east, north, and east to the Lynn County line on what is the Rock Road at the moment.
That whole project.
That's the project that we've worked on grading in a number of years.
I got some questions about this project, and I ask them now.
Rick?
That's, while oops, sorry, while the engineer's here, of course.
Yeah, okay. First question about this, are they grinding this up like they did before and then put new blacktop down, or what do they do?
They will grind the existing asphalt in place about 4 inches down,
Okay,
compact it, and then put 3 inches of new asphalt on top of it,
okay,
and then shoulder along the edge with limestone and rock.
okay. Then, one of the questions about that, so the elevation's gonna change, because my concrete on my driveway goes out to the edge of the blacktop. Is that gonna create a bump there, or do I gotta redo something, or?
They will taper the asphalt over top of the concrete.
They go up over the top?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. Duration on County Home Road, do you have any idea? Is it a week, 2 weeks?
The project allows them 40 working days, but I'm sure it'll end up being done in stages. The recycling of the existing pavement will take, I don't know, I'm gonna say a week or two, depending on how fast they move down the road. Working from past experience, it'll need to set a little bit because they add water to mix some of that, so Mother Nature will need to bake some of that water out before they can put the new asphalt on top of it.
Okay,
And laying the asphalt probably wouldn't take any more than that rough time frame, a week or two, and the shouldering wouldn't take more than a day or two.
okay,
But it'll all be done under traffic, so there'll be flaggers and pilot cars out there.
okay, so
you
you
might
might not be closed.
The road won't be closed.
Okay.
You'll just have to wait for the one-way traffic.
Because I got
each
some
way.
work going on, it's going to require probably several semis to get into my place. And I don't know if it's going to line up with this or not.
Mhm.
So, the other question I got about this is going to create a lot more, I'm assuming, that at the intersection of Elk Grove Church and 32nd, a lot more traffic will be going straight across instead of turning right and going through Sheldsburg. If they're going to Cedar Rapids, more than likely they're going to, because it's quicker. It's a few miles more, but going over to the interstate, it'll be, I'm assuming, a lot more people going that way. So is that going to end up being a four-way stop sign?
At the moment, it's not being planned as such,
Okay.
but
I'm thinking it's probably something that should be considered, so. Because of the extra traffic going straight across. There's only 180 cars a day on that gravel right now. And there's 1,500, I think, on the county home road, 1,500 to 1,600. So I'm assuming there's gonna be several hundred more people going straight across at that point to go to Cedar Rapids. So I think it'd be something to look into. Then-
certainly with the paving, the traffic patterns may change and
Yeah.
signage may need to change out there accordingly. But
Okay.
at this point, it's not planned
Okay.
in advance of the project.
Okay, all right. The other question is Lynn County going to redo their end of this then? Because it's just seal coated right now. Do you know?
I do not know.
Okay, I'll call them and find out then, so. All right. I think that answers all the questions. Thanks.
Mhm.
Well, moving on here, you've got a handwritten claim.
Yeah, Alicia's gonna scan that to me. It's, the historic preservation is gonna go to a conference, and we didn't have the W-9 for the people, so we have to get that on, because they're going, I think, next week. If you hold off on that, because,
Hold off on
yeah,
that for
Alicia's
now.
in the basement with election stuff.
Okay. Or until she gets it scanned to you later in
Well,
the meeting?
she does send it to me, I don't even, she forgot to put it in my folder.
Okay, okay, very good. So we'll move with the cigarette permit for Kim's Mini Mart. You got the paperwork there, gentlemen.
I hear you.
Make a motion to approve the permit for Kim's Mart.
Okay,
Second.
okay, been moved and seconded to approve that cigarette permit for Kim's Mini Mart. Call for vote, Primer, aye.
Team and I.
Pearson, aye.
Thank you. We'll move on to the sheriff. Sir.
We're on, do we have the right resolution number there?
Yep.
It's a resolution for the part-time employees. You needed to add the correctional, or the security officers into the part-time resolution that allows us to do their wage increase according to their years of experience and training, which, when this was written, I don't think we had them, part-time folks. Allows us, just like everybody else, to bring them in on their 7 years is the top that we would bring them in at, from 2 to 7.
Any questions on that, gentlemen?
The only thing I want to add to that is initially Ron and I had been working on that together and I was vetting out some other past people. I think he had suggested 5 or 6 people that this would affect. I'd just like to make the recommendation to make sure there's not anybody else that was missed, because I recently found somebody that we had shorted $1,000 that I think we need to make sure we go back and see if there's others that might apply to that if we adopt that.
And a part-time cook.
Part-time cook as well? Okay.
Yep, we need to bring her up, take care of her.
We've issued that correction for her. I just think if we're gonna implement this, one of the things I was looking into is to see if anybody else had fallen through the cracks. And so just would like to make the recommendation that we make sure we.
Notes normally you let us know when they've reached that, correct?
Yes.
So it wasn't on
Oh.
payroll error, it was,
That would be on me.
just clarify.
Very good. Which makes good sense.
I
Yeah.
missed about 50% of them.
Department heads are
Kicked in,
scheduled.
it's hard to hear, sorry. Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 21-87, the wage and benefits for part-time employees at the sheriff's office.
okay,
Second.
all right, that's been moved and seconded, and I'll call for a vote, please. Primer, aye.
Team and I.
Pearson, aye.
Is this one just the initial, so? This is
Right on
fine.
the bottom.
Down here. Right. This is for city clerk and county auditor only.
That's for this part. We fill out this part because you need to. So sign up there if you're the chairman that's approving it.
Up here.
Yeah.
That's clear as mud, isn't it? Alrighty, moving forward while I sign this stuff soon.
First, resolution, is that 53 the right number, Haley? It's 2453 for the sheriff's office, moving a part-time staff member to full-time. And that's because of that retirement in the kitchen, so this would be food service / custodian. It's Wanda Henshaw, and so that would be effective today with a rate of $20.99. She's been an employee since 2023 on a part-time basis, so it's just moving her to full-time. So it'll be a resolution
motion to,
What was the number, 24?
2453.
making a motion, are you?
2453, the hiring of Wanda, what was her last name?
Henshaw.
Henshaw, for food service for the sheriff's department.
Second.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded. We'll call for a vote. Primer, aye.
Even I.
Rear-Shank, aye.
And moving forward, if you're ready.
Yeah. I have another resolution for part-time HR assistant. That would be at a pay rate of $15 an hour with an effective start date of June 3rd. Her name is Julia Berry. And it's resolution number 2454.
What was the last name, please?
Berry, B-I-E-R-Y.
Okay. Is there a motion?
So she's starting when? When did you say she started?
At the end of this thing was,
You guys didn't approve it in this fiscal year's budget, I didn't think.
to start with
It says June 3rd,
June 3rd.
right?
Not in this year's budget.
So are you not able to move money? I thought I was told that you can move that money around if you have excess. Not
Like
true
in line
anymore.
items, you mean, if you don't go over
Mhm.
your bottom dollar,
Mhm.
and you have enough in there to cover that? That's on you guys, I didn't know it was discussed and approved prior to the advertisement.
Can I comment or move to the discussion part? I did a little research on the ISAC webpage about human resources, and they did a survey, and of that survey, 31 counties responded that they had HR. However, 2 of those were in the auditor's office, one was combined with another one, and one was outsourced, so that's 27 counties out of 99 have human resource. Very few of them have additional staff in those HR offices. Benton County ranks 24th in population, 14th in pay for the HR, and we have 125 full-time employees according to the survey. Marion County is the closest one in size that has additional staff. They rank 21st in population. Their human resource pay is 17. And they have 1 additional staff member, and they have 155 full-time employees. After that, it jumps up Cerro Gordo with 222 full-time employees. I guess my question to you is, when was the position approved? When was the job description approved? And if we're going to lower levies next year, as you said at the budget hearing, we've got to start controlling expenses now. In this conversation that just went on, that we were going to shift money around, isn't this a classic example of spend our budget before the end of the year? I think we need to control the costs now, so that we can lower the levies next year. I think you need to do some research as to whether that position is really needed. Is it something that maybe, we've had lots of issues, I shouldn't say we, you've had lots of issues with HR reporting to the Board of Supervisors because of open meeting laws. Perhaps you should move HR under the auditor. Then you'd avoid all these open meeting violations. You could share employees, you wouldn't need an assistant. And I see on the agenda where we're gonna again discuss who gets what papers, it all be together. Maybe that's something you should give a lot of consideration to. On this survey, 2 of the HR people are in the auditor's office. So it's not something that hasn't been done. Maybe we need to start thinking outside the box. That's it.
I will comment that as a board, the 3 of us collectively instructed her to look for an assistant.
Was that in an open session?
This was in her review.
So it was not in an open session. So the public didn't have any input.
I think if you go back to the meetings before the HR position was hired, I think in those open sessions, it talks about it would have 2 people eventually, but they wanted the first person to get on board to be part of that hiring process. If you go back to
Can you
those.
tell me those specific ones so I can go back and listen?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have them written down here, but I can get them for you. I think it was like March or April of 2023.
The other thing was never on the agenda. An agenda is to notify the public, give reasonable notification to the public as to what you're going to discuss. I know that every other department has to come to the board and get approval before they add a position. It's been that way for 20-some years.
That was approved when I got permission.
It was not approved by this board in an open session. Can you tell me where it's in the minutes that there was a motion and a second and an approval to add a part-time position?
So approving the budget for a part-time position?
Absolutely not.
Okay, moving forward, we do have a question here. We do have a question. It's discuss and approve hiring a HR assistant. She had for June. And if we hold off, I don't know if this part-time person would hold off till 1st July or not. You know, you can give her the, it's on here to discuss. We can discuss it here and now. So, what do you guys want to do?
So am I incorrect about that moving of funds piece?
I don't think so.
So if the money is there and it isn't over, it would be okay if she started 3 weeks early?
As long as everybody's in agreement to that. Isn't that what you'd say, fellas?
I would say so. My question is, do you really need an assistant already? I mean, I don't know how much you do.
I would say yes, definitely. I mean, I think all of you have said you probably shouldn't be working the 10 and 12-hour days.
Correct.
And I think there's plenty of things that need to get done, you know, plenty of initiatives.
Can I ask a question? Where we're at, what's the holdup with the time and attendance? The Adams reached out to us a few times, and we're ready to go, the board's approved it, but we're waiting for something from you.
Yeah, we were going to, Tracy had suggested a revision in the contract to have an out, because we had been hearing, we had heard from another county that had it, that they kind of overpromised and underdelivered. And so he wanted to have an out clause in there and see if we could only pay 50% up front in case they didn't deliver what they said. And so that hasn't been reviewed. The revision they put in there hasn't been reviewed by legal yet. And then in talking to another county that just did it, they said we might want to reconsider. They were having some problems at the start of theirs, so I just didn't want to pull the trigger on that until we kind of vetted out some of those concerns that had been brought forward.
My problem is that I was told, I'm not gonna name names or counties or whatever, but they didn't follow through what they promised. So instead of start from scratch.
But was that recently, or, I know they were
like in
short-staffed.
March,
They've been short-staffed, but they're,
okay, that I don't know, like I said. But the only thing I wanted a clause in there for the county, that we don't pay them the full amount up front to start this, and it doesn't deliver, what are we gonna do then? My suggestion was, we'll pay you half the upfront money up front, 6 months, 4 months, and it's working like you promised, we'll pay the other half. We're good for it.
Yep.
But my problem is, what happens, if it doesn't deliver what they say? What's our repercussion then? We can't walk away from a $44,000
well,
deal.
and it's not just that, our whole software package is.
Correct, I understand that, but that's where my hangup is, understand?
Okay, well, at least it's,
I mean, if they got faith that it's gonna work, what I'm changing, I don't think is very outside the box.
okay,
I'm not asking a lot.
I just didn't know what that was.
That's what the whole.
I appreciate being told.
That was on me.
Okay,
I should have informed you too of that.
okay, thank you.
I put it in that email when you asked, I responded.
Right, but it's the board's kind of decision, and mine as auditor doing the payroll, so I was just making sure why we were
That's-
holding up.
But that's what the holdup is,
Okay.
you know, and they're, of course, they're balking that. They wanna change, I wanna change the contract.
Okay, well, thank you.
I think we might want to do a little more due diligence from, that county saying they kind of were rethinking it. Something about the comp time was another thing. That was supposed to be instantaneous and now it's not. And I just want to make sure we're delivering to the employees what we say we're going to deliver to them when we said they're going to have instant kind of notification of everything. So I just think some recent counties had some questions that maybe are worth looking into a little bit more to make sure it's the right fit.
Okay, moving forward. What do you guys want to do here?
Kelly's got her hand up over here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking this way.
That's okay. So in the budget hearing, you had talked about a different software program. Is this the same time and attendance, or is this like an application
The one
process?
that we're talking about right now is just the time and attendance piece, like automated payroll.
So there's another one that you were talking about, like $45,000 to get started with the
Application
application.
onboarding. Mhm.
So would it be diligent of our money to attempt that first? Or hire a part-time payroll or a part-time assistant? I mean, if you're doing both, is that gonna leave you too much time? Or if you're working 10 hours, will that other software system take up 2 hours of your day that you wouldn't need a part-time person?
No, I think there's enough, we're redoing the handbook, we're making some revisions with personnel files. There's a lot of things that kind of need to be updated, so it's a good point, but I think I've thought that through and the one wouldn't alleviate the other. No, that's what your question is.
So what happens when all of that stuff is done? Like the handbook's updated and, is there an ongoing need?
Is there an ongoing need for,
If you're just trying to work on short-term projects,
it's not just short-term projects, there's long-term projects as well.
And the time and attendance would be a payroll function, is that correct?
The time and
I
attendance.
see your head nodding, so.
It'd be like what we talked about back in the
So
fall.
you really don't have
like
anything to do with that?
Electronic,
No, that would still be payroll.
like,
That's what I thought.
instead of
yeah.
doing the paper timesheets,
Yeah, so
like, put your
Kelly's-
hours in electronically.
Yeah.
no, I was referring to the one that she had put in the budget for the next fiscal year. Was like a, $45,000 ad for a new software program. So we're adding a new software program plus hiring a part-time person, from my understanding.
Software is horribly expensive.
Her,
But is there
the
any-
other software that she was adding addition, it was
Yeah.
for her insurance onboarding stuff, that kind of, yeah, those are two separate.
I think Kelly's question is it needed to have part-time people if a computer program is gonna
I'll do that.
A computer computer program is gonna assist the facilitation of, more on the end of new hires, rather than them having to make a trip here to fill out documents, and it's gonna be electronic on the end of new hires, and make that more of a seamless system from them, rather than mailing documents in and doing that sort of thing. It'll have benefits for us to be able to run reports and be able to, track turnover and things like that. But a lot of that is kind of for the end user, to just make their application experience and onboarding experience a little bit easier, especially as we've been hiring people from out of state. Makes it a little more challenging.
Lexi had a comment.
I'd just like to make a comment. I am a small office in a 25,000, 26,000 population county. I ran my office probably a good 4 or 5 years before I decided to have a part-time person. I guess I'm trying to make the comparison, and I have customers daily serving 25,000 for the whole county. We've not been here a year, and we serve 125 employees.
Full-time employees.
Full-time employees.
I think that's 140 some by last count,
Okay.
full-time.
I'm just
160
throwing that out there, that we've had a lot of other departments that have worked here for a number of years without a part-time assistant. And I'm just, as a conservative, I keep my budget low and keep it as low as possible, and I've always tried to. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you.
That I ran my office that way for many years with just the two of us, so.
Okay. Fellas, what are we doing?
I'll make a motion to table it for right now.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to table this.
So what are next steps with it?
I'd like you to cut your 23, 24 budget off and show me that you're saving, that you'll have enough to cover it.
I have a year-to-date one. Do you want that one?
Yeah.
Or I can email it to you.
I'm like Rick, I thought we voted on that it's gonna start the first of January, or first of July. That's why I'm thinking back in my mind, I'm not
As
positive.
far as the budgets.
Yes,
As far as the
Yeah,
budgets,
it
yes.
was. I had just asked a few times about, hey, if I'm over in this area and under in this area, is that okay? And I was told as long as the bottom line is okay, it's okay. So that's why I thought I would get her in here sooner. Again, part of it was when I'm not here, so she can answer questions of staff, that sort of thing. So that's why I thought it was okay. So, yeah, I can get that for you.
I'll email it to you three and her right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Tracy, how are you, man?
All righty.
Okay.
You get emails?
Just out
Yeah,
of
my
cur-
laptop.
Oh, okay, okay.
just out of curiosity, if she was willing to volunteer her time prior to that,
What's that?
if she's a student studying HR, so if she was willing to come in June and volunteer her hours until July, would that be an option?
I don't. Morning, David.
Good morning. I have a public comment on this issue, if I could interject something for the board. I would like to remind folks that when we started the HR process, over 2 years ago now, I believe, we had a hiring committee, and Tracy, you were on the hiring committee, and it was discussed in that hiring committee and brought to the board that there was so much work for the HR director to do that they would probably need an assistant. And we decided And that was presented, by the way, in the board meeting. And the board was in agreement, but it was decided that we would let Kirsten, who was hired, get up to speed and determine what she needs. And now, all of a sudden, it seems like this is ancient history. So to answer Ms. Marlowe's question from earlier, I can't go back and tell you the exact date the position was approved, but it was approved.
Perhaps the board can tell me.
And they don't have to answer a question on a split second that requires research.
I
But
didn't
this is
ask
not.
them to answer.
And we also have a lot of interruption going on in these meetings, by the way, board. It's kind of embarrassing if you haven't figured that out. So Kirsten was hired, and I would also remind the board of the history. This county struggled through COVID, and its COVID struggles were brought on by the open rebellion of 2 elected officials to any policy that the board tried to adopt. And that has continued to this day. We actually have elected officials making throat-cutting gestures at employees right now. And you guys should be aware of that. Well, you will be soon, okay? Stuff that is just completely uncalled for. And this full court press against this HR director is ridiculous. Oh, we don't like the HR director because she wants to have some legal compliance. This is what we discussed when we formed that hiring committee a long time ago, that we were so far behind the curve that we needed someone to come in and help us dig out. But it seems like in this board meeting, those things are forgotten. Why is that? You were there. You were there on the second one, Mr. Primer. And Megan Hall, former assistant county attorney, who left for greener pastures, unfortunately, in Lynn County, she chaired that committee. And she discussed that, and I know this because I've talked to her, I've talked to a couple other people. That was discussed, and that is the creation of an assistant openly, and it was discussed with your candidate. And the thought process was, once again, let's let this new person get up to speed and figure out what she needs. Now, she's been here, it's not quite a year yet. My understanding from talking to Megan is that she has the 2 HR professional designations, one SHRM, I can't think of the other one, things that on the hiring committees, plural, we really wanted, okay? She has over 20 years of experience, and yet we have folks coming in and second guessing that have never done 1 day's worth of duty trying to dig out from the mess that is Benton County. And somehow, some of the stuff I'm reading and I'm hearing, hey Garrett, good morning to you. This person here is the cause of it? That's absolutely ridiculous. We have had issues going back years and years and years, and so the one person that comes in, the professional, that was the #1 choice of the hiring committee, we have to try to attack her, throw her under the bus for saying what? I think we should follow the law. What a foreign concept in Benton County. What a foreign concept. And, you know, I don't know what you're going to do, because I was listening today and I decided, what the heck, I'll come in and say hi to my old friends like Joe Marlowe and Lexus Fidel, good friends. I'd heard enough, so I came in, and I appreciate this opportunity to come in, but I would also remind you of all the mistakes and all the harassment that started with COVID from 2 elected officials, and it's continuing to this day. And that's why you have lawsuits, that's why you have more lawsuits out there that are pending that you haven't disclosed to the public yet. You need HR, this county needs HR. But yet, we're going to do the exact opposite, aren't we? Because we're Benton County. And Joe Marlowe does have a point, by the way. The taxes are too high, okay? And that's what's happened in this boardroom forever and a day because of the value of our farmland, amongst the best in the state, and the value of being a neighboring county to Lynn County. We have all these people that commute in to work but want to live out in Benton. You guys get bailed out every year. Every year. You've never, I don't know that you've ever had a year in the last 30, the last 50, where your tax revenue realized was less than the prior year. We get bailed out every year. And so when I hear, and I wasn't planning on coming in today, guys, but when I hear, oh my goodness, have you really done your research to someone who's got over 20 years of experience and is putting up with the stuff she's having to put up with? Are you sure you need this? Or, for the first time ever, Mr. Seaman, I want to fund it for 6 months to see how it goes. It's $15. It's an intern. It is a part-time intern. And there's nothing that says the person's going to get 20 hours a week or even 10 hours a week. But yet it's the biggest deal in the world. And this budget, by the way, this budget that has all kinds of issues, and Ms. Marlowe is right on quite a few of them. All of a sudden, we're going to balance and fix the budget on the back of some poor gal. I don't even know what her last name was. Aries, whatever. Some poor gal at $15 an hour part-time, intern salary. What are we paying interns or the part-time help out of conservation these days? Is it over 15?
I have no clue.
Well, I'm not, like Ms. Marlowe, I'm not going to ask you to answer that right this second, okay? But I bet it's more than 15. It is? But yet this person, good Lord, and I don't know her, but I am so glad she didn't have to come in for this. Welcome to Benton County. We don't even want to let an HR intern get some experience. Well, by the way, we have all kinds of other departments that are stoked, filled with more employees than it needs. Full-time people at very good salaries. But an intern that was discussed over 2 years ago, and the process was going to be to let the HR director get up to speed, you were there for that, man. You were there, Rick, for the second time. And you were kept in the loop on all of it, Gary. But now it's the biggest issue ever. We're only going to give them a 6-month leash, and then the HR director has to come back and report if it's working or not? What other department has that type of restriction? Now that is a question I would like an answer to. You hired people, Jill. You ever had that restriction?
No,
I never had that restriction. I was here 24 years, people.
but I also had to get approval from the board to even create the position.
Fine. Put it on the agenda next week. In the meantime, let the person start part-time without pay. But it's not the biggest issue in the world. But all of a sudden it is the biggest issue in the world. Why is that? What's the ulterior motive?
I want the budget control.
Well,
I want taxes controlled.
you picked on the monopoly board the lowest ranking properties. They're not even properties, this position, okay? You've got far bigger issues in this budget than the gal
But we've
that's
got to
putting in.
start somewhere.
So this is the hill you're gonna die on and sacrifice this, is it Aries or Aries?
Julia.
Julia.
Julia Berry.
Barry, that's the problem with my ears and my speakerphone on my cell phone. This is the hill, let's fight and die on today. Wow. Seriously? One other thing. Let's go back in time. We had 2 elected officials stir up all kinds of issues over COVID. And you will remember, gentlemen, how you approached COVID. You worked with the sheriff, you worked with Virginia Gay, you worked with Scott Hansen, and you came up with policies. And your policies were pretty reasonable. And they were pretty uniform and very similar to what counties all across the state were doing. And you had people that openly rebelled, 2 elected officials. And one of those elected officials was actually harassing people and had to be told to stop harassing people. And at that time, the board, shortly after that, decided it's time to move HR out of the auditor's department. Okay? So when we talk about, you know, the county auditor can do HR, the auditor's office can do HR. Yeah, I could probably build a bridge too. Where's Myron at? Is he still here? Right
Right
there.
in front of you.
Right there. Couldn't see, I was getting a little bit of glare. I could build a bridge, it wouldn't be worth a damn. Okay? Think of all the things you guys are learning from your involvement with Heartland attorneys about claims that carry attorney fees if the suing party, the plaintiff, is successful, okay? State laws, federal laws, ever expanding. But this is a time to throw HR back, because that's what the ultimate goal here is let's put enough pressure on this Sue person here so she quits. Or let's put enough pressure. I think I actually heard a candidate for office ask for her resignation one day. Seriously? What a joke. Campaigning in the boardroom, good luck to you, ma'am. Good luck to you. Wow, it slipped. But we're going to go ahead and throw this gal under the bus for trying to enforce the law, for coming to different departments, including yours, Ron Tippett, saying, we have some issues here. What deputy or what other person have we ever attacked from about after their first 2-3 months on the job? Oh, and one other thing. We all know there's this little gossip blog called the Vinton Today with the anonymous comments. Yeah, the anonymous comments, someone puts their initials in and they can say whatever. You know, the state's improved quite a bit. It has. I remember as a kid and as a young adult traveling on highways and such, up and down, east, west, north, south in Iowa, you didn't have all these mega convenience stores. They had pretty clean restrooms. I remember going into the old gas stations that had concrete block walls usually, not painted nice like this office, with all kinds of crappy stuff, not safe at times for kids to read, okay? Scrawled. Remember that, guys? I think everybody old enough remembers that. Well, then we have the Vinton Today, where anybody can post whatever they want, and it can be anonymous, and we don't have to say what's true. We don't even have to report what's true. So Miss Valerie Close, when you listen to this and get all, worked up, it'd be nice if you could actually be accurate and fair and cover a side of a story for both sides. One other thing about the Vinton Today, I got to thinking about this morning while I was shaving. He used to say about a newspaper, well, it's not even fit to line my bird cage with. And I got to thinking the old Vinton Today, you pay twice if you want to line your bird cage with that publication, because first you have to read it. That's bad enough. And then you have to, expend the cost of your own paper and printer to print it off to line your bird cage. But yet, let's go ahead and cue the anonymous comments. Let's have our mom post comments on our behalf. Let's say things that aren't true, because this person here is the worst person in the world, and we have to drive her off. A person that's got degrees, a person that has not one, but the 2 professional HR certifications, similar to a CPA, the person who was, I believe, from what Megan told me, the unanimous choice of the hiring committee. Unanimous. And then one other thing. We've gone through this before because we had a very fine HR professional, Kirsten Nelson, here. And we had the same thing. We had the open obstruction of her trying to do her job. Documents that she needed, denied. Shunning. Weaponization of the cameras to check who's going and coming from an HR director's office and other places. This county is out of control. But yet the answer seems to be, from the folks that show up, or at least a lot of the folks that show up, we don't need professionalism and we don't need no stinking law enforcement. Wow, 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 wow. What an embarrassment. How many more lawsuits you want? Because you know you have more out there that the public's not aware of. You gonna drive this gal off too? Is that what you're after? Or are you gonna actually say, we're the Board of Supervisors, and we do control these budgets, and if we have elected officials that are blocking our hired employee from doing the job we hired her to do, that's not right. We'll have to take a stronger look at your budget, and one of the things is you haven't appropriated that budget next year, okay? So if you're gonna put conditions on an intern that you're only gonna approve it for 6 months, why not go to some of these elected officials that are still to this day in open rebellion to what the board's trying to accomplish and say, we need to take a second look at your budget. Maybe we're only gonna appropriate the first 6 months, and then we'll see where we're at. But you won't do that either, will you? Because last thing, this is the last thing, how many meetings did we have with the first HR director that I was present for, and you guys were there, where we said, and these were exempt meetings under 20.9 of the Iowa Code, where we said, you've got to take action to stop what's going on against your first HR director who's just trying to do the job that she was hired to do. A fine professional she was, by the way, and still is. And you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything, and it doesn't look like you're gonna do anything today or next week either. That's how it's playing in Peoria. Thank you.
We do have a motion and a second on the floor here to table this until we can, I presume, look at the current budget. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I know that Haley said she emailed that year-to-date to us. Okay. And so, did you do that just?
I already did it.
Okay, good.
Rick, can I ask you a question? I apologize, sir. Why not instead rescind the motion and make a motion to put this on the agenda to approve next week the position? We can all come back and do it again. It's been so much fun. And let's get the HR director the help that she needs to try to square this county away before Heartland gives you folks the boot and you're out on the open market trying to pay for insurance. Because that's where this is gonna go if this board and this county doesn't start complying with the law and working together.
Are you pulling that up? I can't see this very well on the phone.
Just do it too, maybe she can print it for you.
So why not table it this week and put it on the agenda next week?
Is there an option to have a special meeting later this week?
Of course. Of course there is. We're meeting tomorrow, but we've already posted the agenda for tomorrow. However, we could post that. Well, that's at 11:15, it's almost 10 now, so that could be amended to act on that.
To do it before the meeting tomorrow, and then I can print these budgets for you to look at in the meantime?
Gentlemen, she's asked a question.
All right, man.
2 o'clock tomorrow.
I see you. Keep
You want work?
How long is this training tomorrow?
I don't know.
I have no idea how long it's gonna last.
Okay.
I think it's scheduled for 90 minutes. I don't know if it's a full 90 minutes, but I want to say that
It
is a
should be done by
90-minute
then.
training.
90.
Shelby said it would be done by then.
Okay, all right. So that's an hour and a half. That starts at
11:15.
11:15.
Do we do it at 12:30?
Well, I think that's an hour, that's not 90 minutes.
11 to 12:30.
Just in case there was questions, 1:30.
It'll be 1:45 before we're finished, so at 90 minutes. So if we did it at 1 o'clock,
You mean 2 o'clock?
I think 1 o'clock.
12:45 would be 90 minutes if it sticks on task.
Mhm.
So
2 o'clock, that's what I've been saying.
if you wanted to give yourself wiggle room, I would suggest 1:30 or 2.
Okay, throw that out there, it's fine. Okay,
Get that posted,
So 1:30?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. Okay, so that's your amended motion to
Table
table
it
this
till
until 2
tomorrow,
o'clock.
2 o'clock.
Okay, very good. All right. You want to second that, his amended?
Yes, I will.
Okay, very good. I'll call for vote. Primer, aye?
Seaman, aye.
Hersink, aye.
can get it printed off that way. See what it is, okay. All right, moving on, we have a retirement.
Yep, Randy Sherwood's official retirement from the county. His last day will be July 25th. He's been at Secondary Roads for 38 years. So Myron and I are currently working on a new posting to get that up and going, but it definitely will be a presence that is missed and a lot of knowledge walking out the door.
Congratulations,
So we'll need a motion to approve his request for retirement.
So moved.
Second.
That's been moved and seconded. I'll call for a vote. Primer, aye.
Seaman, aye.
Boucher, guy.
Can I see this?
Will you guys initially keep a file of it? Keep a copy.
Initially. Okay. Now we're moving on.
Yeah, the next item I have is about getting personnel files transferred over to the HR office. We've talked about this a couple different times and just kind of to bring you up to speed. Most recently at the March ISAC meeting, there was a seminar with a panel of attorneys. A question was asked about where those files should be housed, and they had advised that best practice would be in the HR office. When I had asked about that of the auditor's office, they had indicated only payroll files were in there, and the auditor, Haley, had offered that we could come and take a look through the files to confirm, what was in them, and so that was done in April. Assistant County Attorney Dilly went in there with me, and I just spot checked, a few random files, and of the 3 that I found, there was documents in them that shouldn't be in them and that were not payroll-related documents. And again, one of the reasons I wanted to get them into my office and just kind of do a thorough combing through of them is just, by law, medical files have to be separate than I-9 documents that have to be separate than personnel file information. There's just strict laws on how you organize those files. And so when I saw those, and I did just print that off just so you can kind of see how you're supposed to organize files to make sure they're in compliance. And so when I pointed those out, I had asked again, could those be moved to my office so I can make sure that they're organized correctly? And we had a little bit of a discussion, and then the auditor's office had said that they would scan in what they needed into the payroll pieces they wanted to keep, and then I'd be able to transfer those over to my office so that, again, I can kind of get them filed correctly so that if we're ever, audited, or if an attorney would ask for a personnel file, or even an employee, they can ask for a copy of their personnel file, and to make sure that it's accurate and complete and, separated accordingly. And so I thought that was the plan, but a few weeks ago, the auditor's office had said that I couldn't get those, that they had scanned them in, but that the files would not be able to leave that office. And I think I also sent you guys an email from Christy, I can't think of her last name, the ISAC legal counsel. I think I emailed you guys her kind of opinion on that about, best practice for confidentiality and HIPAA and legal compliance, that might be, the best option to have access to those documents. So per the code, you do have the ability to direct where those files go. And I would ask that they get moved to my office so that I can ensure that that they're in compliant and that we're following those rules and laws related to them. If I'm asked to attest that, hey, is this a complete file on somebody, I can't attest to that in good faith if I haven't seen the file and being able to, know what's in it. Scanning files, sometimes pieces of paper stick together. I don't know that everything is in there. So, if I lay my own eyeballs on it and I separate it and I attest to that, then I can say, hey, if something's missing from this file or if something's misfiled, then that would be on me. That I, am saying they're incompliant and they're not. I reviewed my job description again where it does say, one of the things that you've hired me to do is monitor compliance with all of the laws. And so ensuring compliance with them. And so I have found several violations of the law since I've been kind of digging into things. And I guess, Department of Homeland Security also in February of this year, they increased their fines for retention, storage, and documentation. If they would come in and do an audit, those range from $281 to $2,781 per misfiled document or incomplete document. An I-9 was one of them that was in the file. So I guess, it just kind of seems like a bit of an oxymoron that, the HR director is supposed to ensure compliance and have access to these things to be able to see that that's right, but I'm not given that access. And so I guess my request is, again, to see if those could be moved to my office to see if there's any other errors in them, get them corrected, and make sure we have those accurately filed for, purposes of handing over personnel files or any type of audit that might show up. And I think I sent you some information about that as well.
Well, we're pointing some fingers. Would you like me to start on some things?
I have a question.
I mean,
Well, I guess,
Nancy explained to you, we never agreed we were gonna give those out. She said she would scan them in her free time and give you access. And those files have been shared with you, and we were aware of those few things that were in there inadvertently. But between the HR, the prior one and the current one, some of those things, when those other files that we had separately were housed over, oh, Dave, I don't like your smirk now, and I didn't like it 4 years ago, so.
Sorry, I'm a
Yeah.
happy-go-lucky type of
Yeah,
fellow.
I know, this is your bullying us again, and you're training her to be a bully too, so.
Training who?
Haley,
Well,
that
you're
is so
threatening,
disrespectful.
I just want the public to know, the emails that I get on a daily basis from HR, who is the supervisor's employee, threatening us if we don't change a timesheet in accordance to her ways, or if we don't give up files. She's gonna come to the Board of Supervisors and bring it up in here, so just want the public to know what I've been dealing with as well.
So
And
I
no,
guess-
I'm not perfect by any means, and people make mistakes. Just like Sue, you've made some mistakes too.
Absolutely.
But I don't document them to come out in a public meeting and throw them at you.
So, Haley, I've asked repeatedly for you to meet with me, and you've refused to do that.
And we have
because-
reasons for that, and we're not gonna discuss them in this office.
Okay.
Do you not learn what Terry's been teaching us? To not bring our dirty laundry to a public meeting?
Haley, I
Okay,
need certain
guys,
information.
You're gonna continue to allow this?
If I could finish my sentence, please. I'm happy to work with you on these things, and I've asked multiple times if you'd be willing to do so. And because you've chosen not to, I don't have any other choice but to bring it up here, because I don't want to fail at my job. And if I've been hired to do these things, I need access to the documents to do them. I take my job seriously of protecting the county from litigation and keeping us in compliance. And so when I find things that aren't done that way.
Okay, but I keep my job is that I was elected to do, and I like to keep them in line and keep it legal too. So a lot of the stuff from the open meetings violations were due to other issues going on. So,
Okay, so I think right now, this particular topic is about the personnel files and asking if this is something that I could have access to be able to do the job that you've asked me to do.
She has copies of everything, don't you?
we scanned everything, and you guys have never even come in to view what we're talking
No.
about. And I've welcomed you, and I said that in a meeting, that's why her and Tim come in there and cornered one of my employees, she was not expecting it on that day, she come in.
Is there a
And-
reason why the copies aren't good enough to look at, Sue? I'm just wondering why personnel files need to be going here to here. I mean, what if the HR department is eliminated at some point? Then where do the actual files go?
It
Where the
would,
board would direct.
the board would direct them.
So does it make sense to bounce them around when they've been at the auditor's office for how long? But what's the point of having the original versus a copy?
So that you have compliance, and I am not aware of any county with an HR department that does it the way Benton County's doing it. It's part and parcel of the job. You have those files under lock and key, under the control of your HR professional.
But we didn't have HR
But we do
previously.
now.
But the files we are talking about is not personnel files, it's payroll files, but like Sue said, yes, there was a few that should not have been in there. We owned up to that, the I-9 and there was a medical form. But again, that was because of the interim.
They're gone
The
now.
personnel files that were over here, we used to have them in a separate place. But in the meantime, Nancy just put them in that file, so we knew where they were. And she had to finish scanning those, but they would have been found and got fixed.
But they're gone now,
There are.
and you have it.
No, the files are scanned into an online document. I didn't scan the files, so I don't know that all the files are on there. I also know that not all the files, it's not 160 employees that are out there, so some are missing. But when people scan things, sometimes scanning, you make mistakes. I mean, I do. 2 pieces of paper are stuck together. You might not get the other piece of paper. Mistakes can happen. I want to make all the files in compliance, so I need to lay eyes on all the files so that I can say, okay, this goes here, this goes here, this goes here. If I did a sample of 3 and I found something that shouldn't be in all 3 of them, there's a chance that that could be in additional files, and I think it's worth looking into so that I can see them, so that I can do that, so that if or when I'm asked to attest to, is this a complete and accurate personnel file, I can truly say that it is. I can't say that right now because I haven't been able to have access to them.
So then, like Jill said, maybe we should bring Sue back over to the courthouse and it all be in one location.
The point that was brought up is that it should not be in that
It's quite fine.
office.
Speak up and put your name on it.
Christie's email says, it would seem that having HR maintain the files, particularly as it relates to medical files, would be a way to limit potential liability under the laws listed below. And then she listed some of the confidentiality laws per the Department of Labor and some other ones. I think I sent you that as well. So again, you have ISAC legal counsel saying that. You have a panel of attorneys saying that. I'm not sure what the issue is to give me this document to ensure compliance, which is what you've hired me to do.
Melinda had her hand up
Well, I
here.
was at one of the ISAC meetings and the question was brought up, who should maintain the files? And the lady there said ultimately the auditor should retain them, but if they choose to, they can give them to HR, or they can give them copies.
That's the same one we were all at.
It's under Iowa law. It's your decision. And it makes the most sense to have the files, those specific type of files, in the department with the professional expertise to maintain them correctly. And, again, some of these lawsuits that are floating out there, and some are like seeds scattered in the wind that might germinate because of all these mistakes that are happening, and there are a ton. And they were there before we had HR too. It just seems ridiculous to not let your HR professional do the job you hired her to do.
So what Iowa code? Can you show me?
I could, but I can't show you right now,
Why?
because I don't have it on me.
Why wouldn't you bring that with you if you're gonna throw it out there?
Because I'm sitting here and it just now came up. I came
Oh,
for
that's-
another reason.
That's pretty relevant.
What Iowa code are you looking for? What
If
Iowa
I
what
may.
Iowa code?
Would you
What are you
object to
asking
her
about?
The one he
coming up
just threw out there.
and going
That
through
the
the
board
file?
has
She's
the
already done
discretion to decide where they go?
She's already been up there.
Is that the
That's 331.
Is that
Her
her
and
intent?
Tim. And that's what Nancy, you said you had already talked to her.
It's not.
We had that conversation.
Sue,
Yeah.
do you want to go through the files again?
The best use of my time is not to go over there and sit and comb through files. This is something the HR assistant is going to help me with. It is easier to do that in my office where they're there. And we can say, this is medical. You have that sheet right there. This goes in the confidential file. They have one file. Everything is in one file over there. We can't do that. There's a medical file, there's a personnel file, there's a confidential file, there's a affirmative action file, and there's an I-9 file. Right now, we have one file and everything's in it. Work comp is in it. If you have a medical excuse because you're off work, it's in it. That can't be done. That's a violation. It's not okay. I don't want to go spend hours sitting in that office going through those. I would like the files in my office so that my assistant and I can spread it out, have a plan, do it, get it organized as it's supposed to be, and then have, okay, here's the personnel file, here's the confidential file. And so if an attorney or an employee, maybe an employee is unhappy with us, and they say, hey, I'd like a copy of my personnel file, please. And we say, here you go, here's a copy, you get that you're entitled to that, and maybe there's something that isn't in there. If I go off of this scan document, they pull this out and say, how come this isn't in my file? Shouldn't it be? Then we look like we're hiding something. Then we look like, why don't you have a complete personnel file? Maybe it got stuck together in documents. Maybe it's something we never even had. I don't know, but I can better explain it if I have laid eyeballs on the files and am able to go through them and determine that. And again, if you have in a job description for me to ensure compliance, I'm just unclear on why you don't want to give me the documents I need to ensure compliance. I've already found violations of law. Is that not what you want me to do as part of my job?
Can we bring the files over here then?
So then how are you gonna have Nancy just come visit Sue when she needs stuff?
She's gonna go through them, find out what,
She's
let
not
her go
gonna-
through.
No, that's not how it is. Ever since I've started, Nancy has asked, may I please have the payroll documents? She has gotten them. She has never once said, you're not giving me what I need. Nancy needs to do her job, the W-4.
Yes, and that's what most of those files are. I would, before we make a decision, you three gentlemen have not even once stepped foot in my office to look at the files in question.
No, I haven't.
It
So,
doesn't matter. Tim and I did, and we found them, and we showed them to you, Haley.
but
We
these
said-
are my files at this current time, Sue. The board makes those decisions, not you and Tim, the board. So I'm asking you three, you're welcome to come in my office and go through these, end of discussion, and then if you want to act on them later, go for it.
So you
Have
would
that
actually
respect.
have supervisors looking at files with medical records in them?
There's no medical records in them. She found the one on accident.
Haley, you told me you didn't have any medical information in the files. That's what you told me. I went to your office and I found it in 3 of them. So because it was in 3 of them, it might be in others. And I do not think the board has the right to go through personnel files. Why would we do that? That negates the
I'm
whole
just
point of
not saying go
confidentiality.
through them, but at least they have an idea of what is in there that we use for payroll and not.
I disagree with that. I don't think you should be laying eyeballs on any employee confidential records.
They're not.
You say that. We showed you ones we found. There could be
Can I ask you
others
a question? How soon does an employee have to sign their I-9 form?
within 3 days.
How come you let a person go 5 or 6 weeks before they sign an I-9 form while we're throwing stuff out there?
I don't know, maybe I made a mistake.
Well,
I guess
same
I'd
here.
have to follow up on
So
that.
maybe there's some mistakes made. So why are we in here
Can I ask a question?
inconvenienced?
Why not let Sue pull from these files the things that are personnel and the stuff that Haley needs to keep? Let her keep. It doesn't seem like it should be.
That's kind of what I'm trying to get at.
You have it in that scanned file now.
So do you. So why can't I keep our physical file of that same information?
Why is that so important to you?
Maybe it's not me, but maybe it is the way my payroll person likes to have things. Do
Okay.
you ever think of other people's feelings?
No, of course not, because she's rude. God.
Okay, so
We're not talking about it.
what I'm hearing is that she wants to take the files here, sort them out, keep what is
No,
personnel in personnel and confidential over and return.
That's not what I want to do. What I want to do is have the personnel file here. The personnel file includes all these things on that sheet of paper that you see, which is everything. Drug tests, background checks, pay and compensation, education and training, handbook acknowledgement, disciplinary, reference checks,
I have a question.
I-9.
Have you
The
ever even
whole
shared that form with Nancy?
Entire personnel file is what I would like here. Since I've started, Nancy has not requested the whole personnel file. She has requested the document she needs to do payroll, and she has not indicated any concerns with that. So we would continue the process going forward where she is sent the payroll pieces that she needs. But then I have a permanent record, all personnel records under one roof, under lock and key, where one person can access for confidentiality, and that it's organized accordingly so that if a regulatory agency should show up and say, may I please see how you organize your files, we could open it up and say, here you go, here's the medical, here's the I-9, here's the whatever it is. It's just to be compliant, it's
We used to
just,
have it that way. Before Kirsten took those files, we had the 2 separate files. So it's not, we've never been non-compliant.
it isn't 2 files, it's multiple files.
Yes, before you, what we used to have prior to HR.
The cabinets on wheels, right?
No, we'd have to pull them out.
I have a suggestion, may I? Ultimately, they're in Haley's office. She's an elected official. Why can't, if the copies aren't, if you think there's mistakes being scanned in by Nancy or whoever's doing it to her, why can't she bring what she's got and Nancy and her sit there, go through them and, oh, we forgot this stuck to the back of this one. Here it is. I mean, she's got everything.
I don't know that Nancy's ever had this checklist that you were just shared, so I'd like a copy of that, so I can take back to my staff.
I don't, she certainly can have it, but it's sort of a moot point going forward if the files aren't going to be kept there. Again, that's what HR does, is ensures that your files are compliant, that your laws are compliant, that you follow this filing system. I'm not sure if you want me to do that piece of my job, what the difficulty is about having the files housed in the HR office. Again, you saw Christie's opinion that she thought that that was a good idea. You can go on all these sites, I think I sent you a few of them, that shows again and again about the confidentiality of records. And again, one person rather than multiple people having access to it, ensuring that it's compliant.
I know I've gone through a DOT audit, and they have pulled my driver files, which is their personnel files, and they look at things like the I-9, for example. And I did not have my payroll information. I'm not saying that is part of it, but I did not have payroll information or any of that type of stuff in the personnel file for my drivers. And boy, I'm a novice at best, so, but I can tell you that they do look at stuff when you get audited, but that's about all I can tell you there.
And it's not just an audit, it could be an employee as well.
So,
I mean,
you've got a request for the personnel file transfer.
You could also hook a two-wheel cart to the file and put wheels on it that way and get it over here. Done that before.
I'm happy to load them into boxes myself. I know the auditor's office is very busy. I wouldn't ask for their time in helping to do that. I can just throw them in the box and do
Got
it.
an election coming up here, so, very busy.
Are you willing to let them go, Haley, for right now?
I would like to include Nancy Stocks and all that too.
Mm-hmm.
So she's,
So we're just gonna delay the decision
I'm
again?
not understanding, you have the authority to designate that it happens. It's clear they're not willing to, or in the prior 4 or 5 times I've asked, it would have happened. They verbally said they were the last time I was in there with Tim, and then they changed their minds.
She said she would scan them for you. I heard that, and she did
Okay.
scan them and allow you access.
That's not what was said. I sent you the
No,
email.
we had an employee that
Okay.
we have extra, so if
That's
she,
not what
you
you-
guys, we have it on recording, somebody recorded it in my office, who heard that conversation.
Can I move them over?
Why is he talking about personal
I don't.
files to you?
If they're in the locked cabinet.
You're saying, can you personally move it?
Yes.
Employees, personal files.
Sure, I guess. They're locked, don't open them. I mean,
What are you getting the county sued?
I thought you had that conversation with Sue.
I did, but we're not getting anywhere.
I noticed
They're
that.
not.
We
So
keep
let's-
giving in, so
let's
go for it.
bring it-
Then go ahead.
Bring it over here.
Take the
I-
damn files. I'm over it.
I'll throw the elephant out in the room. What we're talking about here is a trust issue. We got people that don't
Yep.
trust each other, and until we get past that, we're going nowhere. So we need to accomplish that. We've been working on it every other Wednesday.
And how's that working for us?
Not the best. We're right here.
Right here.
It's a trust issue, and I think we need to build the trust first.
Excuse me, I think you need to get to the compliance issue first.
Yeah.
The compliance issue is your hiccup. And for some reason, there's either something in the files, just sitting here just listening. There's either something in the files that we're not, to get stuff separated. Where I worked, everything was separate.
That's what I don't know.
Everything was separate.
I don't know what she's looking for.
She's
honestly.
looking to be in compliance with these forms and stuff and
But I
keep
feel
stuff
like they
separate.
keep looking for a certain individuals or something.
No, they just want it so somebody comes in and it's
Well,
nothing personal.
I get
feel
that
it's
you
not-
know that,
I
but-
feel it's nothing personal. I feel she just wants to be in compliance and wants the access to these files to be able to separate them.
And I obviously
According-
want to be in compliant too.
But the idea is, you get down to this. I feel you get down to having the actual document or a scanned document. Because see, sometimes scanned documents, something can be changed, and then you've got a scanned document. You don't have the original. You gotta be careful there too.
Yeah,
So,
we know how that.
whatever files go in there, they have to be the appropriate files.
So Doug, I think what they're saying is bring the copies that she received over in Haley's office. There's a big table in the back. Sit down, go through the original with what they've got scanned, make sure that they have everything, then on to the next. Is
Correct.
that, I mean,
And
that's,
separate it. And also the
but let her
next,
physically see let her see it and see what she got scanned
know,
over.
Just
Okay.
end this, because I know it's not gonna stop. So if you want the files, have at them. If that makes you happy, and you'll stop hounding my employees, then have them, please.
I don't,
No, let's just stop it, move on.
The sheriff's office could, I'm sure, move the files if there's a
I
problem
mean,
with that.
I'm not the only department that has personnel files.
Okay.
There's way too much stuff in there.
So, gentlemen,
Mm-hmm, same thing.
and that means they may need to go through every department to make sure that all the personnel, everything is separated. It could be a
Yeah.
long process.
Yeah, it is a long process, which is why sitting at a back table and going through it, I don't think is the best use of time. You know, it's something I may be doing at 9 or 10 o'clock when I'm here. I'm sure the auditor's office doesn't want to sit and do that. It just, I can do it at my leisure. And again, it's not personal, it's just trying to make the county in compliance. So
Okay.
I'm happy to just get a box and do them myself, if that's what you are saying is okay.
So no one else will be in your office when you're going through these files?
Other than my HR assistant.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Ron, you willing to help me this afternoon?
Move files?
Yes.
Just assume not, but if you want me to, I will.
I'm sure.
Okay.
So the answer is yes.
I can help you. I'm sure our maintenance would help maybe too. I mean, why would you, I mean, but again,
But yes, I'll help
you
you.
in the files.
Okay. Done?
Okay?
Was there action on that?
Do we need to take action?
Approve, I guess approve the request for the
So,
files to be
we need a
transferred.
motion to,
Okay, make a motion to approve personal file. Transfer.
is there a second?
I'm not gonna second that. Problem is, Haley is responsible for those files. And when they're out of her sight, or out of her jurisdiction, I don't know how she can be responsible for those files.
So the code says that her access is subject to the direction of the board. Did you read the email from Christie, the ISAC attorney, that said? So when there are open records requests, typically that is the type of stuff that Haley would need access to the files of anything that somebody would want that for. Personnel records can't be subject to open records requests, so that's not something she would need to get into to be able to comply with something like that. That's a confidential employee record, and typically that would fall under the HR umbrella to ensure those were kept confidential. There are multiple people who have access to them in that office, whereas in my office, it would just be locked under one person.
You can second it.
All right, I'll second it. Okay, been moved and seconded. I'll call for a vote. Firmer, aye.
Seaman, aye.
I'm gonna abstain.
Okay, very good. Now, item here for
Accrued vacation.
vacation, yes.
So I've been starting to conduct exit interviews with staff. And a reoccurring theme that I've heard is they wish benefits were better explained to them. How the partial self-funding works, the Oxygen piece, paid out vacation times, the accrued vacation, all these different pieces. And so as I was looking into that with a recent person that left, I didn't understand the manual calculations we were performing for the accrued vacation. And I had asked for some help in trying to understand that. It's a lot of manual calculations that I was having a hard time following. I'll admit math isn't my strong suit, but the auditor's office was busy with some other stuff at that time. And so I thought, well, I'm going to try to dig into this myself, and asked for other examples, like how'd you do it for this person? How'd you do it for this person? Sometimes if I have several examples, it might help me to follow the math better. So as I was doing that, it was discovered that an employee who left a few months ago didn't get their accrued vacation payout. And so we've since corrected that, and we did mail that employee a check, so she's been made right now. But I thought this looks so complicated, I can't believe it's that hard. So I asked another county, how do you track when to do these and how are you doing your calculations? And they had said that they wondered why we were doing it manually, because evidently there's a field in Tyler that does that for you and kind of alleviates the chance for errors then if Tyler is kind of doing that calculation. So I had reached out to the auditor's office and asked if they were aware of that, and I didn't hear anything back, and I asked a couple more times, and finally I got a response that from Auditor Ripple that her office took care of that, and I need to refer staff to them to answer questions related to that benefit. And so I guess I look at accrued vacation as a benefit, and when I'm talking to staff about benefits, I'd like to be able to understand it, to be able to explain it. And I would like to know if we have an automated way to do it, maybe it would be beneficial to look into the automated way that Tyler does it to see if that might work for us. And so, again, I guess it's another issue that I had some resistance in getting a meeting scheduled to talk about it
I just realized
further.
we are conducting an election, so when she or emails and asks something right now, we might not be able to respond instantaneously. So the accrued vacation is handled manually, yes. At this particular time, I've researched at IQ meetings with Tyler Tech. We've never done it that way. There's some it's not an easy function to just click a button and it's gonna magically do this for us. And again, an error was made, it was noted, it was been corrected. And since we're bringing up all these errors in here, it's like attack the auditor's office day.
Are you interested in looking at this
Well-
after the election?
After the election.
Yes.
But the accrued vacation, we've explained how we do it manually. And I'm not the only county that handles it manually. We've always done it manually, fixing those. So I know you want this software to magically just do some of the things for us, but it doesn't always. You have to kind of tell it what to do. You have to run reports, make parameters.
Right, yep. I don't want it to magically do it. I just thought if there was an easier way that might alleviate errors, it might be worth looking into. And I think it's important when we have new staff or information gaining either from talking to new staff or staff that's leaving. I think if we want people to be, long-term employees and we're asking for their opinion, we need to hear what they're saying and owe it to do some due diligence and look into those things, that if we can tweak some things, just because it's always been done doesn't mean there might not be a better way. And so I just think it's worth looking into to see if that could be a helpful tool. And, I'd like to see if we can meet about that. And
So is this part of that Tyler system that we're looking at?
it would be our current one. Without even
Current.
getting into that, our current one has the access to do this. Tama County does it. She said, it's just right in this field. We don't do any of these manual calculations.
Okay.
And so she suggested
So
looking.
it's a system we currently have.
They do have the upgraded.
Okay, so it's something that could be looked at after next week.
So is that something you'd be open to sitting down and talking about after next week then?
Yes, and I explained that in the emails that Nancy was off last week, a couple of days.
Actually,
And
your
you couldn't
email
respond.
said you respond to those things and you will handle it.
Yes.
And I just don't like to tell employees to go elsewhere. That's not the kind of customer service I give. I like to understand it and
So-
explain it to them too,
Go there.
rather than refer
So
them.
next week, after next week, it will be looked at, I would think.
Okay.
Yeah, after next week. Yeah, I know it's gonna be,
She'll have to,
they'll have to audit the election, yeah. So it'll be a couple of weeks, sure.
Okay. And that would be okay with you, Haley? Okay, great, thank you so much. Okay, it looks like my next one I had was some HR updates. again, talking to new employees, and they have a lot of feedback from other places they've worked and just ideas to maybe tweak current things we're doing. One of those is with regards to our timesheets. And staff have a hard time understanding the timesheet because we have at the bottom personal day taken, well day floating hours. And in some of them, our process is to have a number on there and then it goes away when we take it. And in others, if there's no number on there, then that means they do have it. It's just like not consistent. And so I was taking some of that feedback and thinking that it might be beneficial to tweak the timesheet to make it maybe easier to read and follow a consistent pattern. And so that was another thing that I was talking to the auditor's office about and just kind of wanted to give an update. I think maybe that too, after elections, Haley, you were open to kind of talking about how we maybe could do that to make it more consistent. Is that right?
On the timesheet?
Yeah.
So what she's talking about is their personal day, business day, instead of having the date, we use it to have a yes or no, which we have to know, because every employee has a different anniversary date. So we like to keep it as the dates at this particular time. And what I suggested to Sue is why change it now if we're gonna go to the paperless time and attendance and train them on it now? So why did we have to spend the time currently to go in and manually change all that?
That's what I think too.
So
Makes sense.
that we had
So
that.
my thought was, since we have, this is, I mean, maybe 6 months out, maybe 9 months out, we hired, 3 or 4 people, 5 maybe, in the last 3 months, and we're hiring 2 or 3 more in the next 1 month. And, I mean, I had a couple that I talked to last week, and I spent 45 minutes with them, not just about this, but it was like, okay, tell me again, like, it's just not clear. And so I just thought if there was a small tweak that could make it clear, so they all follow the same pattern. Like, they think they don't have personal days because it's not on their sheet.
But if you say yes, would yes mean yes, you've used it, or yes, you still have it?
I think that's what we gotta make clear to them, because how it has now is, those are blank. So if it's blank, that means you have it. But new staff are saying, hey, I didn't get my personal days, because they think a number should be there, like how you have a number for well day. So
Right.
just making them consistent,
But
either all have
I
numbers.
don't think yes or no will, I think if you put a number there, that's fine, but if you do yes,
Sure, a number,
because
Or a
yes,
date.
does yes mean you've
Right.
taken it, or does yes mean you still have it?
yep,
But
yeah.
as a department head, I like to see the date they use it, so that way I can coincide with their anniversary date. That's
Right.
why I like.
So maybe it could say personal day.
Can you listen to one side?
I like
You
the
should
date they use it.
ask all departments.
So maybe instead of saying personal day taken, it could just say personal day, just like it says well day. They all have 8 in there, and then when they take it,
Then
it
put the
changes
date.
from an 8
Right.
Right.
to a date,
Right,
like that?
yeah.
Yeah, that's what we,
I think they just get confused because it has blanks, but then well day has a number. So then they think, oh, I have a well day, but I don't have personal days. And so if it followed the same pattern, it'd be like, oh, I have that. And then when it's taken, then it changes to a date.
Is this really something that should
Exactly.
be before you guys?
Well, when I try to
No,
have.
I'm asking them. Is this really something that should be before you
She
guys?
can answer a question, Jill. You're not the lawyer here.
Well, I'm asking
She can have
them.
some insight on it.
I did, she can
She's
answer
talking
me.
to
This was approached last week, and I
She's
said I would
giving
look
her HR
into
update.
it
You're
after
interrupting
the
it.
election.
And she
Well,
can't
she's asking
respond?
the supervisors, not
I
Sue.
want to know if this is
You
something.
know, let's calm down,
I know.
okay? It sounds like she just had a couple,
You don't work in this
you know,
county.
items there that were helpful just now, and I think she can kind of roll with some of that.
No, I know what you're doing.
After the election results and all this is in, I mean, in the meantime, perhaps you can get with some of the department heads to figure out, is there a way to do that? I think that's what Haley's suggestion here just moments ago was, and.
I mean, everything that she's asking you guys to do affects all department heads.
Mhm.
So I feel like everybody should be involved or weigh their opinion. Not just my office and Sue's, because it affects all of you. And a lot of you have more employees than I do or anybody else in this room. So I think to be respectful of making big changes, we include everybody.
Right. I just think these are new hires that are giving this feedback.
Sure.
And so it's gonna affect new hires, and it's worth hearing what they have to say to make their jobs easier, rather than studying the timesheet for 15 minutes trying to understand how it works. So,
The gentleman that you concerned, he said, oh, no, it's not a big deal, so.
And there may be, maybe you can even print blurbs to explain it.
Right.
I don't know.
And that's again why I was asking earlier in the meeting, the faster we move forward with the time and attendance, that we wouldn't even be having to have this discussion, guys. Why go to all the work and edit it and change it if we're gonna go to something brand new, is what I'm saying.
I just didn't think it was a lot of work. The last time she added the float hours, I asked
Well,
if that
it's,
was a lot of
to
work.
keep it
and
on
she
one
said it
page, it's
wasn't.
kind of, as you know, this program is not the best program, so.
Right.
But again, we're beating a dead horse. I responded to you that I would look into it.
Okay.
Election has my priority in my staff right now, as you all know, so we will, and I told you I would. I didn't know you were gonna come right in here and jump into it. But hey, you guys, tell me what you want, because it seems to be gang up on my office today.
I
So
would-
what do
I
you
would
guys
say-
say?
We're just gonna let it sit for right now.
So we can bring it back next week again? I mean, I'd rather just hash it out. We've already hashed it out today, so.
I'd say get together after the election and the results and
Is
see
that
if
it?
you can tweak it.
Haley, none of these things are personal. It's
Okay,
trying to be
I'm
to
done.
the employee what they hear us saying, to respond to the employee's requests.
And I respond to employees too. I did talk to that gentleman and he had no concerns. He didn't have a problem understanding it,
All right.
I think we're talking about a different employee.
possibly so.
I recommend that they take a look at it, all departments put a say in this, if you wanna change it.
Okay. I will do that. Okay, thank you. My last one is just a few HR updates. Speaking of new employees, again, we've talked about how we have so many different areas, and it's hard for everybody to go to every other area and meet everybody. So I'm going to be starting a new welcome new employee feature, where I'll send out an email when new staff get hired, have a picture and a little blurb about them, so that'll be on email. It'll be on the HR board, and then eventually would like to put that on the website too, to just let people know about new faces they see in the county. And that is all if the new employee is comfortable with that and gives permission. So we'll be starting that with the conservation people and our new assistant engineer. So just FYI that you'll be seeing those and watch for those. There was a recommendation about doing stay interviews, what employees like about here and what, keeps them here and what would they like to see more of. I'm in the final stages of drafting that, and that survey will be going out to all employees. Just wanted to give an update about that. I had a wellness update, but I did not print out my final numbers that Molly just sent me, but we are doing better than we were last year at this time as far as meeting the challenges of the program and trying to head towards that full discount. Sorry I don't have those specific ones, but just wanted you to know that the Wellness Committee has been great with offering ideas, and people are really seeming to get more engaged in that, so that's good. And then I just wanted to give a quick update on the texting, countywide texting program. That we have 82% of staff that have opted into it, so that's pretty good. And we have 15% that have opted out of it right now. And then a few are pending, like maybe it's sitting in their box and they haven't responded yes or no, but I thought 82% was pretty good for that. I've just been sending like happy birthday, happy anniversary, what else? Reminder, open enrollments. Scott has included me on his kind of severe weather broadcasts, And I'm trying to see, he gives these nice visuals of this projection of the storm. And I'm trying to see if I can insert those pictures in there to then blast that out. Hey, severe weather is predicted this afternoon, just FYI. And so that might be another neat feature that it could have with some visuals and things like that. So I think that was all I had with regards to HR updates that I wanted to bring up. Did you guys have any questions about any HR updates or anything? Nope. Okay.
Thank
That's
you.
all I had. Thank you.
I see Alicia came in. Did she bring that preservation?
So, these people are going to the conference,
Yep.
so some of them don't have a credit card. So for $540, I would actually know much at all. It's a W-9, so.
Okay, thank you. This will be a handwritten claim. Should be $140. These are the people going to this island.
They do not have a credit card, and I would not suggest issuing a county card for that department. They're not employees, and we have this fight every year, kind of, so. A few of them don't have a credit card.
Any questions?
Nope.
Is there a motion to authorize a handwritten claim for this?
Yeah,
Just tell me.
so moved.
Do you need this?
Second.
Okay. All right, that's been moved and seconded. Call for vote. Primer, aye.
Pearson, aye.
You want it on this one?
Just that line that you were talking about, to say he's yes, he's.
On the left side, if you would initial, please. Okay. How about reports, fellas?
Anything, Gary? I give you guys a copy of the blueprints I made for
Correct.
that didn't get on the agenda, so
Yeah, I did. You got it,
I did.
Friday night.
Oh, okay.
If you go out, what's the new one? It has that, it has that update.
Yeah, I didn't look that far.
Yep.
Anyway, that's a material list. Like I said, the only thing that's outstanding that I don't know is the doors, 3 walk-in doors, and then a window.
For pricing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you did give us a range.
Material, yeah, the
Yeah.
material list for everything else is $2,600. It'll be 3 rooms.
Sure.
What's this, a project?
This is for the health board, Grace, next door.
You're remodeling the roof.
Yes. You wanna look at the blueprints, you're more welcome to them.
Oh. I'm not a blueprint reader.
There's a bunch to look at.
It's very simple. How will this affect the windows?
Same way, the
Basically-
individual will come out in the center of the post,
Okay, okay.
just like they did in,
Is that gonna make that center room? Well,
yeah, all 3 be the same size.
Okay, so that room, they're equal. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Okay, I don't have a problem with it. So you need a motion to proceed?
Whatever.
Is that what you're looking for?
I brought it to your attention of what's it gonna cost.
Okay. All right. So, I think we're good with it. Sit on that, is, take action for it.
Discuss approve.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion that this be
You don't
taken care of.
have the doors on in this 2609?
No, he's got the
The doors or
estimate
the windows are separate.
down below.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. Second it.
Okay, been moved and seconded to approve this. And call for vote, Primer, aye.
I abstain.
I understand.
Pearson, aye.
Very good, all right. Okay,
Public comment.
I guess I got a couple on my own still here. As far as the road schedule, we're a year behind right now. Stuff that's getting done this year was supposed to get done last year. And then I'm curious about the stuff that was supposed to get done this year, where it's at. Is it gonna get done next year?
Depending on where all the funding comes from, possibly.
Okay, so,
Certainly, or specifically on road resurfacing projects, I know that bridge replacement schedule has stuck pretty close to schedule,
Yeah,
or
this is-
or maybe ahead of schedule for that matter.
this is the one I've got.
Mhm.
And there's resurfacing, there's bridge replacement, and for example, what's getting done this year was scheduled for last year. And now, year 24, which is this year, there's a section out by, between Brandon and Mount Auburn to get done, and then the Garrison blacktop, it looks like, was supposed to, or cement road was supposed to get done. Is that gonna get done next year now, or?
I know some of that has changed based on conditions and short of pulling that report out and re-looking at it, but some roads that deteriorated quicker than anticipated have been moved up, some that are holding up well. that
So is
have
there a
been-
new schedule out that I can get?
So approved one here a month ago that was 25 through 29.
Is that online that I can see it, or do you know?
I'm not sure if it's on our website or not, but I can work at trying to get it on there, Jerry.
Okay, or if I can just stop and get a copy of it, either one. Then the other question I got is, thinking about what you said about my driveway, where they're gonna blacktop over the concrete and taper it down. I don't know how, when you taper blacktop down to nothing, it's just gonna deteriorate. So my question is, am I better off cutting out some of that cement and having to put blacktop to it? Because essentially this is gonna raise 4 inches. Is that right?
Probably pretty close, between 3 and 4. I say 3 inches is what being put down, but my experience with recycling the existing asphalt, it tends to rise slightly.
Okay. Because driving over a 4-inch change in that could essentially cause the vehicle to drag or something. So I want to get the, I'm kind of a perfectionist. I want it done right. So if it's at my expense, that's fine. So, but I don't know if you want to come out and look at that or see what we need to do, or if I need to have the contractor look at it. Because if I have to cut back 3 feet or whatever and redo the cement, that's fine.
Mhm.
Or have them blacktop up to it. I'd rather it be blacktop up to it than laid over the top of it. So, I don't know what you think.
A lot of it has to do with satisfaction of the property owner. I can say what project contractor is normally going to do is just feather it back to a point.
Okay. Now, they normally put an approach of a foot or 2 in the driveway. So if I have to cut back a foot to get them to do that, you know, or if I have to redo the cement at my expense, that's fine too. But I just want to make sure it's done right. So.
That can be discussed with the contractor, maybe a little more detail in specific locations. So,
Okay.
and I won't forget it, Jerry, but I can say it might be something that I can bring up to them and
Okay.
talk to you
Well,
in
once we get
advance
the-
before they're there.
Yeah, once we get the data when they're doing it, then
Mhm.
revisit this. Okay, sounds good, thanks.
Kelly?
I just want to say that I know that there's been a lot of negative stuff said today about the auditor's office. And as a candidate of the county, as Dave pointed out, they have been very helpful. Kaylee's emailed me all kinds of questions, sat down and worked with me on different things. Gina's been very helpful. So I honestly appreciate all the hard work that they do in the county. So, thank you.
Thank you. And any others? David?
Maybe something a little more fun. Where are you guys at on the clock? Can I give you some info real quick? So this is gonna be a little bit dated, but I think it would still be accurate. I gotta look at my notes so I don't leave something out. So when we did the clock originally, I'll try to keep it positive. Rory Demisi knows what he's doing. And when he came to check out the clock, I think it was like 3 years ago, to give it a diagnosis because it wasn't running right, he pointed out all kinds of things that were not done correctly with the first restoration. But he also pointed out some safety concerns. Specifically, in the olden times, somebody had to go up and use a crank and wind those weights that run the two different sides of the clock up at least 3 stories, if not 4. And I think the low side weight was about 200 pounds, and the other side was like closer to 300 pounds. Well, we have electrical wiring in those channels where the weights would drop or descend. So we can't do that now, so we went with, and with permission from the State Department of Cultural Affairs, we went with an auto winder. And so when the weights get low, or actually when they get high, excuse me, no, it's the other way, they get cranked up automatically, and then there's a switch that shuts it off on both sides. And Mr. Demisi expressed great concern that the electrical switch on both sides was something that you'd get at a Harbor Freight type place. And if it were to malfunction, it would be very dangerous because the winch that cranks that up is very powerful. It could pull those weights up and out of the ceiling where they mount and send them flying across whatever direction it would go. And that's a lot of weight. So the wiring needs to be looked at by a professional electrician. On that same note, Elwick's were up a couple, 2, 3, 4 years ago, and they were not very satisfied with the quality of the lighting fixtures used. They felt that they were inferior. And then, as part of the project, and if you've ever driven past the courthouse at night, it's also related to the wiring and the lighting. The east side looks like it's got a triangle-shaped alien about to fly through the face of the clock, and that's because that side was kept original glass, and so it doesn't look right, and it hasn't looked right ever since it was done, and it seems like, I know that this is great expense to do this, but I'd like to see you guys, do it the right way. Also, when Mr. Demisi comes back, he has requested the county, if you will, bring a boom truck out. And I had talked to Mr. Jansen about that, and he'd be willing to do it as long as we coordinated with his schedule for 2 reasons. First of all, it's a safety issue. We can send that part, some of which weigh, I think like one side of a frame is like 120 or more pounds. There's 2 of them. It's a safety issue. We can get the parts up safely, but he is not going to replace the hands on the east side, okay, without that type of tool available for the following reasons. When the clock was reassembled, those hands, and he's redoing all of the hands for all 4 clock faces, those hands are supposed to be held in place by a copper rivet that won't corrode. He took down, and you'll notice 3 of the sides of the courthouse clock right now have no hands on it. An iron component bolt or screw, I guess it'd be a bolt, was used, and he showed them to me, and the project was only about 5 years old when he took those hands down. They were rusting apart. And what happens to your clock is if you don't use the right material, copper doesn't corrode, your hands are going to fall off. So when he comes, he's going to do the 3 sides that he can gain access to through the center dial. He's going to go ahead and replace those, but he cannot get the glass out on the east side without breaking it. Whatever they used for a glazing, it is like cement. And we tried with the previous clock repair person, we tried to get the glass out, and they were using a Dremel type tool and being, trying to be very careful, and they kept cracking panes. So technically, you don't have to keep the east side glass any longer. For grant purposes, we were required to do that by order of the State Department of Cultural Affairs, but we've already maintained the clock original past the 5-year requirement, so you could change it out, but it is kind of a neat thing. The clock used to have just regular incandescent, a single incandescent light bulb for each of the faces when they were glass. Something similar to the LED now would take care of the east side just fine. Mr. Demisi has also stressed that in the counties and cities that he's done these clock repairs, he believes that the best way to maintain the clock once his repairs are done are to form a committee of volunteers that will take over climbing up and doing the regular oil maintenance. And, you know, other counties in the state have set up these committees. If, you know, a person volunteers, you have them sign a county attorney approved waiver of liability. People that want to do that and are motivated to do that tend to really keep an eye on your clock. And he's recommended that a bunch of times. Let me just glance here real quick. Mr. Demisi has always stressed that if he does this, you know, once he has this restoration complete, if we keep up on the simple maintenance, he expects it to run for 50 years. So I think it's worthwhile to do that. I would remind you folks that you have a clock committee out there, and I think a good portion of those folks are still around. I don't know if you would want to convene them or not. I know historic preservation kind of keeps track of this as best they can, but unless somebody coordinates with Mr. Demisi and sets this stuff up in advance, he's going to want to come back, and it's going to take a lot longer for him to get the clock up there. It is actually, you got some danger, you know, in the heat of that time of the year, lugging up the cast iron and the brass parts. So the boom truck would be not only feasible from the standpoint of now you'll be able to safely change out the east side clock hands, but it would also, you know, make the process go faster and be safer for everyone.
Makes sense.
So, and I'd certainly be willing to help out, either lugging stuff up the stairs, I'd help lug it down the stairs, or, you know, trying to get the clock committee back together. I know it's taking a little longer than what people want. Oh, there is one other thing, by the way. So originally, the tower didn't have windows in it. And so once the clock was reinstalled, because of the very high quality windows that we have up there, it is hard to hear it. So we had a little PA system, you know, with some speakers on two sides. Whatever you call that receiver / amplifier, it must have got zapped in a lightning storm, but it's dead. So if you wanted it, once it's all said and done, we had this the first time, it was up and running, and folks were, you know, hey, we can't hear it. And the late, great Kent Stufflebeam was first and foremost amongst those individuals. Just thought we'd give him a shout out today. I just wanted to point that stuff out because I'm not sure if everyone is aware of the different issues. And Mr. Demisi, at this point, may actually have something else as well.
I got a question. Are they rebuilt this one? This is the first I've heard of the clock issue. What's going on with it?
Well, we had a clock committee, and we had a component group that wanted to hire Mr. Demisi, who is basically considered him father time. He's out of the Twin Cities. And we had a different individual from the state of Indiana that gave a good pitch, and folks that wanted Mr. Demisi, I was one that wanted him, lost that vote. So think of it as any sort of, you know, classic historical piece, whether it's a car or something else. It had substandard components used on it. It had bolts that had Phillips screw heads on them when the Phillips screw head had not been invented when the clock was made. So he's going to correct all that stuff back. We had I don't know what the exact part's called. I have it in my notes at home. But one of the parts is made, to me it looks like brass, but it's a jeweler's type bronze that has a little bit of a lubricating quality. Well, instead of this part, I think it's, you know, something drum, instead of it being replaced with the correct part that would enable the clock to live and keep working as designed, it was replaced with aluminum that was painted kind of a brass color. And so that causes excessive wear on the cables. And remember, the cables have 300 and some pounds on one side, 260 or whatever on the other side. Cable goes, your weights fall, and someone could get hurt, or the way they would fall, something would roll and bounce into the clock and damage it. So there are just a lot of things. The pendulum wasn't done correctly. The hands were not made out of the correct material. The hands were affixed with, a steel bolt instead of the copper rivets that were used. He has all kinds of concerns, and he is a very busy individual, but anybody, any board member could call him if you wanted to.
So the intent of this is to keep it original rather than modernize it?
Yes, that was always been the intent, and I think that's what the board approved here like 3 years ago.
I'm just curious, I've been at a lot of courthouses,
Now,
the old mechanism is set there, and they've got electric motors up there.
Now, do I think that there would have been some great value to bringing the motor, the original motor down, or mechanism down, and having it restored and running on the first floor of the courthouse someplace with something modern upstairs that we didn't have to maintain? Yeah, I think that there was probably some merit to it, but those decisions were made a long time ago.
Okay, I didn't know that.
But it is a good project, and there are a lot of people, obviously, that take pride in it.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Is there anything else? All right.
Rick,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm waiting to see, since nobody has shown up out to 56th Street Trail, am I taking it you're telling me to pound sand?
I couldn't hear with this
I
behind
said,
me. I'm
since nobody
sorry.
has shown up out on 56th Street Trail
Okay.
to fix the damage that was done by the trucks and the maintainer, am I taking it I'm being told to pound sand?
I don't know that I'm telling you to pound sand, but it doesn't sound like it's going to get fixed.
So then you're gonna put up signs saying it's not a truck route? When all these projects come up, or are you gonna code it?
Coat or code?
Well, you got all these projects coming up on 32nd and whatnot like that. Our road, which is not a truck route, is the one that's primarily used for quarry access. So I'm just wondering, are you guys planning on putting down dust control this year for these projects to go on? Or are you gonna put up signs saying it's illegal to use it for quarry access?
I think you have been out there, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Can I ask, where does 56th Street Trail?
56th Street Trail goes from 32nd over into Lynn County to the Windling Quarry. That's all Cedar.
Okay, yeah.
So they've been using that road for the last 15 plus years as a highway. And every year I pay for dust control. The maintainers and the trucks destroy it. And my health is getting to the point now that I'm not physically able to keep up with it. I'm 100% medically retired veteran. I've been fighting cancer since '89. This is only like the 5th or 6th time I've been physically able to leave the house this year. And I'm shaking. I'm in so much pain right now I want to pass out. But if I have to put my health on the line to come over to the secondary roads and fill 5-gallon bucket after 5-gallon bucket until I get enough material to fill the potholes that the trucks and the maintainer created in 1,000 feet of dust control that was just, literally destroyed a week after it was put down. And then the second coat stayed perfect all winter long until the maintainer went over it with chains and dropped his blade on it. And then the trucks, what I call pull a train or a convoy back and forth between the thing. I've already checked with the state. It's a non-approved truck route. They're not supposed to be using it.
Here's one question. Do you think paving that road from the Oak Grove Church over to Center Point will alleviate some of that traffic? I would think it would.
It's going to create more traffic
On your road, you think?
on my road.
Well, until it's done.
Well, they use it, one day they made 32 trips. The county did.
Yeah, I've seen them come out of that quarry. Yeah, so. but
So,
there is-
and that's against the law. They're not supposed to use that road.
Because there's a shorter gravel route out of there going over towards Center Point.
Well, you got the Center Point
That's-
Urbana Blacktop or the
Yeah.
Payload Center Point Blacktop were the ones that the state says that are required to be used unless they provide dust control.
Okay.
But since I pay for dust control, I mean, it takes me literally from the time I write them the check until the next time I have to write them the check to save up the money because I'm not allowed to work because of my health. So I'm living on disability and trying to fix my house because an argument with State Farm, where for 11 years they wouldn't let me touch it. The storm happened in 2011, tore my house up. They wouldn't fix it, wouldn't let me fix it. So now I'm trying to get caught up on repairs for my house. But if they're not going to repair it, then I have to put my health on the line, and I'm not going to get out there and try to fix potholes while a bunch of dump trucks are trying to run me over.
Charles, you went in on this road with your neighbor, is that correct?
I paid for it all this year.
Okay, but you paid his half as well. Typically, you guys share it.
Typically, it's half. Lyle Waters, 30-year veteran of the DOT.
Okay, is he unable to help?
Well, up until now, he has been because he's been taking care of a dementia patient and trying to get his farm work done in his field and stuff like that. With me being sick, like I said, I'm a United States Marine. I'll die for anybody in this room for any reason. It doesn't matter. My life don't mean snot to me. When I signed that contract with the Marine Corps, I signed to protect anybody and everybody. And I still have an active Marine Corps ID. So I'm still willing to do that for anybody and everybody. So it's not so much as me doing that, but if I'm out there filling and some dump truck comes flying down the road at 40, 50 miles an hour and swerves and go in the ditch, who's going to be held responsible? Every single accident that's been on that road by the illegal use has been charged to the homeowner. You know, they're using the road illegally, they get into an accident, and the homeowner gets charged for the accident.
From what I understand, for the county to do this, we'd have to go through and change a policy. It'd be countywide, of course.
So you're gonna put up a sign then, because it's against the law to use the road, unless you either provide dust control or have a law passed that changes it into a truck route, in which case you'll have to hard surface it.
Okay, I don't know the laws, obviously, Charles, so.
Well, this gentleman does.
Yeah, I can't comment on it, so, okay, all right.
So, you know, I'm just saying, I just want to know, if nobody's going to come out and do it, I'm going to. I'm going to call the state's attorney's office back and let them know that through the illegal actions of this county, I'm being forced to repair the damage that they created. And I have to put my health on the line when their guys could have it done in an hour. And they'd have all the safety equipment that they need. Now, I can reach out to a dozen construction companies and get signs and everything to put up. But the last time I did that, I was told by a county official I could be charged for a crime because I didn't get it approved through the county. So I don't, you know, I'm kind of in a limbo. If I maintain the road, I can be charged. If I don't maintain the road, I can be charged. And that's why I reached out, because my health is failing so bad, I reached out to see about having them repair the damage that they created. So right now you have a choice. You either put up signs saying no quarry access and you stop, put a countywide notice out that that road can't be used for quarry access, except when they need to maintain the road, which I understand they're working from 32nd over to the east of the county line, and I don't have a problem with that. But it's every other project that's out there. I've already told Pelling that they had to provide dust control. I told, what is it, McComas or whoever it is, Lucina, whoever, that they had to provide dust control when they were doing the work for the bike trail. That they either had to pay dust control or they had to stop using the road. Well, all I ever get them out, this is approved by Benton County Roads, it doesn't matter what you say. So, you know, I want to know who's in charge. You know, like I said, if you drove down my road, you would see there's no way for the water to get off that road. They have cut it in such a manner that the water can't get off the road. We got mud pits forming all over the place because of the heavy traffic. And, you know, like I said, if you're not gonna fix it, I will, but it's gonna be under my terms. I mean, you got a policy, it's not a law. I have a law that says you can't do your policy. And I, you know, everybody's saying, oh, it's an election year. I don't really pay attention. You know, I figure I'll let y'all do what you know, do your thing, because I try not to be a bother to anybody. The sheriff has sent his deputies to my house probably 10 or 15 times on unfounded charges. And I told them the last time they showed up, I was gonna consider, you know, harassment charges. But his deputies are like, hey, we're doing our job. And I was like, not against the deputy's office. I wanted charges filed against the people that kept reporting me for stuff that wasn't happening. So his people know I'm doing everything I can to stay. We've had some arguments over at the courthouse because of the mask mandates that were, you know, you're talking to a guy who was trained in biological warfare. And there's not a mask that you can get unless it's, you know, what they use in the lab is going to protect you from any of that stuff. Because the best mask that you can buy, the M95 now, only does 1 micron. And the coronavirus is 0.05 microns. So every mask that you can get, unless it's in a hazmat suit, not going to protect you. But no, on the road thing, it's just, I just want to know. If I have to fix it, you're going to put up signs saying it's not a truck route, and none of these projects are going to use that road for that quarry unless you put oil down.
Well, signs would have to go up. If signs went up, it'd have to be approved, recommended by the engineer, and approved by the board. So, I mean, there's a process for that too.
Have you talked to like Jim flew up over at the quarry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only reason that the dust control doesn't extend, well, and this is what they told me, the quarry told me. They were told by Benton County Roads Department that they were not allowed to cross the county line with the dust control. Now,
But can the quarry suggest to the drivers coming in there that they turn right going out the driveway?
they will not do that because Benton County Roads told them that they were going to continue doing it regardless of what the law said. Now, I'm not accusing anybody because I can't say that they actually did that. I'm just telling you that's what they're telling me, because I've already told them that if they don't put a sign up, they can be culpable in a lawsuit. Because, like I said, the trucks are putting my health on the risk, on the line. The new rock that they're putting down with the lime dust and everything is causing my lungs a massive issue. And everybody says, well, you can just move. Yeah, I wish I could. Or I really wish I could, but until I can get my house fixed to where it is sellable or insurable, you know, I'm kind of stuck. And I'm not blaming the county for any of that. I mean, granted, since I started doing the dust control, rather than 2 inches of dirt every year in my gutters, I'm only getting 1 inch of dirt in my gutters because the truck, the 1,000 feet of dust control doesn't do a thing.
Yeah. The other thing is, maybe some of the people coming in there hauling rock out don't know that it's, what, 3/4 of a mile to a blacktop road going the other way.
Well, they all know.
And
They all know. This is the approved truck route according to every single company I've talked to for Benton County. And it's not a truck route, it's a farm access road.
Yeah, for me, I wouldn't be driving gravel any more than I have to, because what is it, 5 miles that way and a mile the other way to blacktop?
It's 4 miles.
Yeah.
4 miles from the quarry to 32nd, and then a mile to either of the other 2 roads. But I understand, my dad was a truck driver, I understand, you know, you're taking the shortest possible route. understand that, because you're gonna add an extra 1.5 miles, 2 miles, maybe a little bit more than that going up through Urbana on the posted truck route. But I can't afford to spend $1,500 to $3,000 every other year just to have the dust control destroyed by trucks due to illegal activity. And I'm not blaming him personally. I'm just saying that it's been going on for 15 years, and either, everybody wants to talk, and I know you were talking earlier about paperwork and everything. I'll tell you for a fact, this county does not accept copies. Every single copy that I've made of my records, I've had to show the original and get a certified copy. Had to pay money to have a certified copy brought to this county. So I just want to know, I'm willing to do it. I'll get out there and I'll put my health on the line to clean up your mess. But the truck traffic comes to a stop if I do.
Well, as I indicated, that's gonna have to be a recommendation from the engineers.
But it don't have to be a recommendation, it's a state law.
Then it would come to the board. So that's to my knowledge. So you pretty well got the answer there, sir.
Well,
okay.
we got a sheriff here, is he gonna enforce it? I mean, you got a state law says you guys can't use the road.
I don't know that he enforces that.
I'm not aware of any such law.
Yeah.
They have to enter and exit all quarries from the nearest hard surface road, and if they don't, on non-approved truck routes, they have to provide dust control. That is state law and enforced by the DNR. Unfortunately.
I'm gonna have to research that.
Yeah. I don't know anything about it, obviously. So, okay. Thank you, Charles.
So, question for you here. If I put up some signs letting them know I'm doing, is that gonna be okay when I'm filling them potholes?
Some temporary signs that you're
Yeah,
working?
yeah, just the orange ones that put up while I'm out there working. That's not gonna cause an issue for nobody then?
No.
Well, okay. I wanted to make sure I had okay to do that, and then I'll come over and I'll get the stuff and I'll fill the holes. But just to put one up, each direction to let them know that. Because, I mean, as everybody knows, that people use gravel roads as a frickin' NASCAR track.
Very good. Anything else? Got a motion and a second, I think it was, to adjourn? Okay, I'll call for vote. Primer, aye?
Seaman, aye.
Very good.
I'm not glad, thank you.
Jury director.
For your support.